Oh, these women with these divorce diaries. I've got something for you. And I'm seeing a growing trend with this whole theme on social media. These women talking about divorce diaries and what they're going through, and their husband just randomly left them or randomly cheated on them. And they just can't figure out why. But it takes me 2 seconds there, Brittany, to scroll down through your page, and I can paint the picture for you. Misplaced priorities, disrespect, letting yourself go physically, spiritually, emotionally. Statistically, it is usually the woman that leaves. So if a man is telling you he is not in love with you anymore, chances are that was the final straw, not the first. Men are simple. They want love, respect, peace, physical intimacy. And crocodile tears do not equate accountability. I'm going to tell you what there, sister. I've been divorced for 8 years, and I had to take a hard look in the mirror and reflect on why my part contributed to our divorce. It wasn't the only thing, but I had to take accountability and fix that. And marriage is not autopilot. I feel like some of you women get the ring, and then you're like, oh, my work is done. And if a man is not getting intimacy or respect from you, he's going to go find it elsewhere. Doesn't make it right. But to pretend like it just came out of nowhere is pretty delusional. And I'm sorry, but maybe you should stop telling the world as to why he left and start asking yourself, why did you give him a reason to leave?
Welcome to The Wall. They say women have it worse after divorce, but the numbers tell a different story. The man loses everything and still gets back up, while they complain that things are now worse for them. Is it true, or just another lie in disguise? Let's take a look.
Studies show women are happier after divorce than men. Why is this? Women are more likely to self-reflect. They're more willing to go inward and hold themselves accountable for the things that they need to change in order to get different results. They're more likely to go to therapy. They're more likely to hire a coach, get the support, get the guidance, get the tools. They will invest in their well-being. They will join support groups. They will do what it takes to feel better, to not make the same mistakes. They take responsibility for their own happiness. They'll step outside of their comfort zones, create new relationships, find hobbies and creative outlets, find fulfillment, learn how to fill their own cup and meet their own needs and not rely on a partner. Women are also more inclined to practice self-care, like healthy eating and mindfulness practices and getting exercise, which then improves their overall well-being. Women are also less likely to turn to destructive behavior and unhealthy coping mechanisms, and they're great at reframing the situation and focusing on the future. They embrace the independence and the freedom. And all of those things are what adds up to creating a healthy, happy, fulfilling, amazing future after divorce.
She's right. If you walk away with the house, the car, half the money, the kids, child support, and alimony, of course you'd be pretty happy. She's literally got half of your new life paid for. And it gets even better when, after destroying her husband, she already has a potential replacement lined up. How could she not be happy? She'll have time for everything. After all, the money you enjoy the most is the kind you didn't have to work for.
Talking about how women fare off in divorce when women fare off far worse financially after divorce than men and are less likely to repartner. Yes.
Women fare worse?
Yeah, men fare off worse psychologically, but women are more likely, their standard of living goes down. They're more likely to be in poverty, seek government assistance. Please look this up. Men are more likely to suffer alcohol, drug abuse, unalive themselves, get sick, all of those things. So psychologically, men fare off worse after divorce, but financially, women fare off worse.
Well, that's just wrong on its face.
Why is it wrong on its face?
It's just wrong on its face. Because when it comes to faring worse, men overwhelmingly pay child support and alimony.
Yes, but the woman's standard of living still goes down after divorce, and the man's is less likely to. That's why I'm saying look it up.
Yeah, but that's not clear to me if that's them faring worse financially.
They're more likely for their standard of living to decrease after divorce. They're more likely to seek government assistance, more likely to be in poverty. Like child support, you mentioned it. I think only like 20-something%. Like it's not like everyone who's ordered to pay child support does. In fact, the majority don't.
Well, speaking of child support, I mean, it's one of the ways in which we still have debtors' prisons, which doesn't exist for other kinds of debts.
What do you mean?
Well, almost men exclusively. If you don't pay child support, you're likely to be thrown in jail.
God damn it! You can't make this shit up!
Women have it worse, yet men are more likely to struggle with alcohol abuse, drugs, suicide, or serious illness. But sure, She has it worse. The man might die, but she's worse off because she has less money. Give me a break. Most men end up renting, if they're even able to get back on their feet, because if divorce hits in their 50s or 60s, they could end up on the street, too old to work and with almost no chance to rebuild. But no, they say women have it worse. Sometimes you really have to sit there and listen to nonsense.
Women.
Here's why women regret divorce more than men. Financially speaking, women's lives get worse after the divorce, while men's get better. The standard of living for women goes down an average of 27%, while the standard of living for men goes up 10%. So you can see why women may feel that their lives get worse after divorce because their standards of living go down while their ex-husband's standard of living goes up.
If you're enjoying the content so far, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment. It helps us a ton. Let's keep going.
Who earns more after divorce, men or women? Research from the London School of Economics showed that women's household income went down 20% after divorce, while men's household income went up by 30%. This leaves many women unable to afford to put a roof over their head. This is not acceptable. So what can you do? Fight for everything that you're entitled to in your divorce. Don't walk away from retirement accounts or home equity. It's your money too.
Look, each divorce is unique, and while outcomes have improved, women do tend to lose out overall more financially than men, with a quarter of divorced women falling into poverty within 1 year after the divorce. What are some of the reasons for this? Well, typically around 75% of women that are in receipt or should be getting some sort of child maintenance or child support don't receive all of it. If we have children involved and the decision is that they're going to remain living with mum, then this is going to impact upon the woman's ability to work, reducing her hours. She's got to allow for childcare. A lot of times, if the woman stays in the former matrimonial home with the children, just to afford the children a little bit of consistency following the divorce, it can prove too expensive. A lot of times women don't have the money to pay for their legal fees. So what they do is they kind of build up a legal debt, which they will pay from their divorce settlement. And of course, if there are children involved, which means that mum may not be able to work full time, this is going to have an impact on the mortgage raising capacity. So admittedly, in the short term, men are definitely impacted. They are usually paying for a second place to live. They are having to pay for the child maintenance, maybe even pay for the mortgage where the wife and the children are still living, and they've also got any legal costs that they incur. But in the long term, studies would suggest that women definitely lose out financially following the divorce, simply because men have the ability to go out and earn more.
This theory always starts with the idea that after leaving the marriage, the man suddenly becomes some kind of businessman pulling in a huge salary. When in reality, the woman walks away with the fruits of all your hard work, and you have to start from scratch, often with debts to pay. And on top of that, you're hit with child support and, in the worst cases, alimony. That leaves you with about 65% of your income to live on, making it extremely hard to ever reach the standard of living you had before the divorce, let alone improve it. And that's not even counting the psychological impact of divorce, especially when she's the one who files, which happens around 80% of the time.
Did you know that after divorce, women's economic situations tend to worsen, whereas men's economic situations tend to improve? So when I was in college, I read this essay by Susan Okin from her book, Justice, Gender, in the Family. And it had this concept called the power of exit that totally changed the way that I view gender dynamics in families. We have to talk about it. So Okin describes this sort of cycle of wage depression in a heterosexual marriage where typically the woman will enter the relationship with a lower paying job for whatever reason. Her and her husband will make the decision to prioritize the husband's career because it's economically rational. They'll do that. The woman will take on more work at home, and then further over time, it depresses her wage earning potential and her ability to make money, whereas her husband is gaining more experience at work and he's getting promoted and his income and earning potential is increasing over time. And as her wage gets further and further depressed, it just makes more sense to keep prioritizing the husband's career. So what does this mean in the event of a divorce? The statistics that Okin references from this book, The Divorce Revolution, show that women's economic position deteriorates significantly after divorce, mostly because they don't have this wage earning potential that's been developed over the last 10, 20 years.
That theory sounds good on paper, but it doesn't line up with reality. Nowadays, most women work, and even then, they can't maintain the standard of living they get when they marry a productive man. It's not that marriage holds them back. It's that many simply don't earn enough on their own. If divorce leaves them worse off, it's not the man's fault. It's because without him, they're faced with the economic reality that was always there. They were living paycheck to paycheck. Let's keep going.
They get out of a marriage, they're often burdened with childcare and they're not made proper alimony or childcare support payments. And then marital assets are not divided with the context that the woman is going to continue to earn less because her domestic labor has depressed her wage earning potential over time. So assets aren't divided in a way that gives context to the domestic labor that she's been doing for the last 10 or 20 years. And now she's in a very vulnerable position where she maybe hasn't had work experience for the last 10 years. She's taking care of the children and her husband is now child free and has his earning potential. It's been increasing over the last 10, 15, 20 years. And he's able to just keep going out and making lots of money and potentially not sharing that in an equitable way with the person who enabled his earning potential to increase over those years by doing free labor at home. So then Okin introduces this incredible concept, which is called the power of exit, which basically says that your power in any negotiation is directly related to your ability to walk away from the deal. So if I'm in a negotiation and someone is giving me a really shitty deal, if I can walk away from that deal, I have a lot more power. But if I know that if I walk away from the deal, I'm going to be worse off, and if they walk away from the deal, they're going to be better off, it actually depresses my power in any important negotiation because I don't have the same power of exit.
These spinsters are always looking for theories to justify why nobody wants them. First of all, if you don't want marriage, you can be in a common law relationship. Second, studies show that relationships today don't last more than 7 years. And plenty of women keep their jobs even after getting married. It's pretty rare to see women with 10 or 20 years of marriage nowadays. And when those divorces happen, men get destroyed, not just losing half of everything, but also ending up paying alimony. On top of that, she gets half of his 401k. With that alone, she's basically set for retirement. So what are you even talking about, lady?
I love when men use this stat as some sort of gotcha, when really all it's saying is that women would rather live in almost poverty levels with less access, with less opportunities than their male counterparts, than stay another single minute in a marriage that doesn't serve them, with a man who doesn't do anything for them but suck the life out of them and exploit their labor. That's what that says. This isn't a gotcha. This isn't an insult. That's what that means, because in every single regard, women fare worse after divorce. They make less money. They have less access to housing. They have less access to job opportunities. They end up taking on more childcare. And they're still filing. They're still willing to live that life, take those risks, have less access to things than they did when they were married, then spend another second in a marriage that does nothing for them, with a man who doesn't appreciate them, who doesn't acknowledge them, who doesn't support them. That's what that's saying. That's what that 71% of divorce initiated by women stat is saying. Women know the risks after divorce, and they're still doing it because this marriage is no longer serving them, and this man is providing nothing to their life except sucking the life out of them and exploiting their labor.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
First of all, what does exploiting her work even mean? Taking care of the house you live in without paying rent, with free food and all basic utilities covered. That's the bare minimum that's expected. You don't even buy the appliances you use, and these days, they mostly just require pushing a button. Most women file for divorce because they're constantly seeing others say it's worth it, until they run into reality. Divorce doesn't give them the money they think they deserve. They end up more miserable, and they find out they now have to support themselves. Because there's no longer a man out there killing himself so they can have everything they need. But don't worry, the wall always shows those divorced women the truth. The wall doesn't forgive.
Women.
We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. Who do you think comes out better after a divorce, men or women? Are you divorced? What has life been like for you since then? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and keeps us motivated to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from the wall.